Hello everyone, welcome to another Wednesday edition of Talking Reds. It's the regular duo now you're going to get every Wednesday. It's myself, Mr. Rob Gutmann.
Me, him.
Yes, indeed. Always and shall always be. We've relocated because Avenue HQ is undergoing a little bit of a facelift right now, so our normal spot in the lobby is being occupied by weird guys with Henry Hoovers. So we thought...
We're in the basement, aren't we, Mo? Let's call it what it is.
We're in the bunker. This
yeah.
is where most of the magic happens. I mean, if you can kind of little crank a look behind my shoulder, you'll see some microphones and stuff there. So this is where most of the really good stuff comes from. And so therefore it's a perfect place for us to sit because good stuff is all what we're about, isn't it?
It certainly is. And on that bombshell.
So let's get on with the show, shall we? Yes, okay. So probably supposed to start with the biggest news that's happened in the last 24 hours, which is the unfortunate injury suffered to Adam Lallana on international duty. It's a groin injury again. We're yet to hear the prognosis of how long it's going to be, the length of time he's out, that is, before anyone gets any ideas.
Nice clarification.
Yes, important clarification. All jokes aside, though, it's a real blow for the lad, and it gets to the point now where he's almost in that situation where he's getting so old. How many more of these is he going to be able to take?
It's getting to that point where we irrationally start blaming him for getting injured,
yeah,
which is really unfair. We're really, really sorry, but we're just like that. It just feels, oh, bloody hell, not Adam again. I'm sure Adam's saying, but I'm sure Adam's wife's saying, bloody hell, not you again.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's very unlucky. He's, you know, maybe there's a vulnerability linked to the last injury. We don't know. I really, really hope that this is a very short-lived thing and he just misses out for England, like all these Man City players are going to just miss out for their countries and miraculously be back for Premier League action. No conspiracy theories here. But look, Adam Lallana hasn't started, but he's come on a sub twice already this season. I thought he was going to be an important player. We've got that game with Chelsea coming up soon in the League Cup. I thought he was nailed on to start.
Me too.
It's a bloody shame. And having lost Oxlade-Chamberlain, they play the same position. If it turns into another Adam Lallana saga, it's not good. And it may make people think about, the management think about a January transfer, which would be the silver lining for us people who love a transfer. Sorry,
oh, come on, is that more important to you, really? I mean, the funny thing is, though, there are a lot of people who are surprised that he was even in the England squad because, I mean, if you looked on social media, you'll see the obligatory, if Adam Lallana was in, then why is not player X from my club not in? He was always the one banded out as the reason that he shouldn't be in there. But the trust that he had from Gareth Southgate, because it was interesting that he was involved, even though he wasn't actually playing in a lot of the games, he was involved in and around the squad throughout that campaign. And Southgate had intended to pick him if he was fit enough for the World Cup. And that's the trust that he's got from that peak period he had about 2 seasons ago now, when he was instrumental. He was so good for England.
Yeah.
He was the only person who was able to maybe, you know, drop a shoulder and see a pass. And he was equally instrumental at that time for Liverpool, if you think about. He was always the guy, they called him instigating the press at the beginning and all that kind of stuff. And obviously now it seems to be a lot more team-wide. Everyone seems to be on that same level press-wise. I mean, how much credit do you think he's got in the bank that's going to allow him to maybe come back and maybe do a little bit of a semi-resurrection in the same way that Daniel Sturridge has it?
I think he's got quite a bit of credit in the bank. I mean, both from Southgate and Klopp. As you said, he was a very important player for Southgate. Southgate seemed to want to wait for him before the World Cup. He played a slightly different role for England, as you said. He was the creative fulcrum. I thought he was almost David Silva-like a bit at his mini England peak he had a couple of years back. Klopp was always full of praise. I don't think his place was ever nailed on in a Klopp starting 11, apart from in 16-17. But as you said, he was the first line of press. He was very influential, and I think Klopp was quietly looking forward to having him back and playing him into form. You know, okay, I mean, Daniel Sturridge has had far worse injury luck than Adam Lallana, but you do wonder, given Adam's age now, if he has another 6-monther. Well, and obviously there's no reason that he has yet to suspect that if it does turn into one of those that become worse and worse because the player's not as young as he was. then where's he going to find his place? You would worry for him a bit.
Yeah, and then you start to get into situations whereby if you're thinking of him at the moment as getting starts in the League Cup or the FA Cup potentially, what happens if we get out of those competitions early? Where is he going to get his games from? And you start looking at the makeup of the squad and start to think in that central midfield area, are there younger players who maybe would benefit more from being in and around the squad? I'm thinking of maybe Grujic, I'm thinking of maybe Curtis Jones. And then you wonder whether all of these things start factoring into Jurgen's mind when it comes to, like you say, potential any January offers and maybe the end of the season. But, I mean, do you see anyone taking a risk on him? I mean, another club looking at him and looking at his record and saying, yeah, we want to buy him now, though?
No, I mean, unless... no, simple as. I mean, West Brom took a loan risk on Daniel Sturridge. And I think part of Daniel Sturridge's renaissance at Liverpool, long may it last. But I think there's no coincidence that the door hasn't been banged down for Daniel, because I think people are worried about the injury side of things. So I don't think people are going to pay actual money, maybe a loan, maybe wages. And I think Adam Lallana could find himself in that exact boat. You're right to say, though, that as one door maybe is closing, some others opening. Curtis Jones, who's been playing really well for the under-23s. We did a show about this yesterday called One for the Future, where we look at the youth teams.
On brand.
On brand. I'm allowed to plug that show. It's only for subscribers. And it's not a lot of money. But anyway. Curtis Jones has been tearing it up, as he was in pre-season. He's come back and he's almost the most influential player in that under-23 side already, and he's still very young. I wonder, Fabinho, who struggled for even getting on the bench. Klopp said at the beginning he plays a range of positions, could play as a number 8. Whether you play him alongside Naby Keita with Jordan Henderson behind, and Keita's given even more of an offensive role. Fabinho sort of playing halfway between the two. Who knows?
It's an interesting point, though, and one that we'll have to wait until he gets back fit before we can really assess. But one thing we would like to say is we do not wish injury on anyone, although if that is going to be the only injury Liverpool sustain this international break, I think most of us would have been okay with it.
Oh, Jesus. How have you jinxed that?
I can't believe I just said it. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you know what the way I looked at it is, with day one, it felt like the international
right.
Day fucking one, and one guy gone, out.
Oh, it's going to be a long 10 days, 2 weeks, or whatever the hell it is.
The only thing, touch wood, is that Mane and Salah, I think, are only playing one game each in the international break. And, you know, a plea to their national managers, make it for about 30 minutes max.
Yeah. Especially on the times of Salah. We don't need any more drama coming from it. Just get him out there, let him have a run out, maybe score a goal, bring him off. Yeah,
and on his hotel room door, that do not disturb sign means something.
Yes.
Egyptian FA.
Seriously, in fact, if LFC want to send a few security guards down with him, that might not necessarily be the worst idea they've ever had in a while. So moving on to the other that you just mentioned, and I want to mention Sadio Mane in the context of the news yesterday surrounding Jordan Henderson's new contract. Now, whether you support this or not, I think both of us in general support this. I think it's good to get someone as important as that tied down. It does leave the question on who will be next, because Salah's already signed up long term. Firmino has already signed up long term. Obviously, Van Dijk and Alisson and Keita are still early on in their contracts.
Yeah.
So Mane is really a man apart.
Van Dijk.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Mane is really the man apart here, the one who is the most pressing concern. And we have been hearing that they have been in talks about this since the summer, but we haven't heard any kind of movement in recent times. Now, how worried are you? Do you think it's the case of Liverpool just waiting for the right time to sit down? Do you think there's going to be any kind of pushback between what he wants and what we're willing to give him?
I've spoken to many of my many friends in the media about this, who all tell me to calm down, that it'll be okay, but I'm worried. I am worried. It is dragging on. Sadio Mane is ambitious. There was some interesting quotes Glenn Price showed to me from a couple of years back from Sadio Mane's agent, gave a bit of an interview, and he talked about the career plan for Sadio. The career plan they had, you know, they've rated him, and he's rated himself quite correctly from quite a young age at the time at Salzburg. And they saw a trajectory, and I think it ends at Real Madrid or Barcelona. It ends in those places. And, you know, okay, Liverpool are on a journey, we hope, to becoming European royalty again. But you can never take away the appeal of the likes of a Real Madrid. And it's no accident Sadio's on fire at the moment. While Sadio's on fire, I think that I think that contract don't get signed. Do you know when I think it gets signed? When Sadio is out for 5 weeks with a hamstring injury, and he suddenly looks around Christmas time, and he suddenly goes, maybe the upward curve isn't forever. Maybe the wage offer isn't there forever.
Okay, now you're doing it.
Now I'm doing it. What have I done?
Seriously, we need to stop trying to jinx his players. You make a good point, though. The fact that his stock is really high right now. I mean, he's been our key attacker in this first 4 games of the season. I mean, he's what?
Four and four.
4 and 4.
Is he top Premier League scorer?
He is top Premier League scorer. And let's not forget as well, he was probably our best attacker in the Champions League final last year as well.
Final third of the season, arguably our best player.
Yes, and that's after kind of coming through some early season struggles.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the Brighton game wasn't exactly his best. He did misplace a lot of passes, seemed a little bit off in that game. But when you consider the quality we've seen from him, this is a guy we can't afford to be taking any risks on. And I 100% agree with you. I agree with the writers in general that I think this is one that's going to get done. I don't think there's anyone within the club who doesn't see him as a priority and isn't willing to do what he wants. However,
do you know what I have a slight fear on, though, is in having nailed down Salah and Firmino early doors, I don't know what the numbers are in that, but the market's moving constantly. We've seen signs of maybe even continuing transfer fee inflation. That knocks on to wages. Mane's agent might be going, I don't care what you paid Firmino and Salah. The going rate for a best player at a club at this level, in European terms, is, let's pick a figure, 220, 250 grand a week. You may have got Salah for 180 plus bonuses. Well, that's most problem. We are for 250. But if the club are then going, well, hang on, if we accept the logic of that, if we accede to it, though, then we've got to go back. We've got Salah and Firmino.
It's going to be a case of wage Jenga.
Yeah, so I think that's possibly why it's not happening, because there's knock-on effects all across the board.
But then would that not put Henderson's contract into jeopardy as well?
I think what you see, and you look at it among the elitist in Europe, the Barças and Reals, is there's 2 or 3 tiers of payments within the squads, and I think Henderson's very much in the middle tier. Good servant though he is, club captain though he is, he's not European elite or elite potential now at the age, although he's no particular age. He is not going to be a European top 10 player, I don't think, in his career, and that's not to disparage him, because very few are. No. Whereas Salah and Mane can make a case for that.
Those kind of things are weighted towards attackers in general.
Of course they are.
But yes, I agree with you.
So I think the friction comes between those 3 elite players. Maybe a Van Dijk, maybe a Keita at some point, but it's not squad-wise.
No.
I think Henderson's contract has a knock-on effect to a conversation with, I don't know.
And Lallana.
And Adam Lallana, Milner, and Wijnaldum, maybe, many others in the squad, Lovren even. I just said even, some disparaged on. But you know what I mean? And you can see that at Barcelona. What they'll pay, Messi's in a zone on his own there, but then they've got the Suarez's and Coutinho's. And I think by the time you go into more defensive positions, they're not on the same kind of money. And I don't think they begrudge the attackers the higher levels pay either.
No, I imagine that's true, yeah. I'd like to think, though, that the relationship between the 3 of them means that it's always going to be a friendly competition to see who's the biggest, but that competition is mainly on the pitch and not in terms of agents and wage packets. I think that's feasible. I think it's one of the situations where the 3 of them all know how important, how massive it would be to win major trophies with this club. They've seen the support that we get when we come close. So the idea of them being the first to do it in a while is massive for them, and if they want to think about image and all that kind of thing. They also know that the best chance of them doing it is if all 3 of them are there, fit and firing together. So
this is the question they've always got, these elite players. It's do they take the bird in the hand? I mean, Liverpool will offer, I'm sure, a package which is akin to around 200 grand a week, including bonuses, and guarantee it for 5 years. I mean, an agent and the player have got to weigh up. You know, that's there. Liverpool are going good places. That's great money. Take it. Or do they twist and go, hang on a second, if we sign now, our chance of getting away from the club, the end of this season's only 2 years left, the club have got to consider, if Real Madrid come in, and I keep picking their name because they were linked with Mane in the early part of the summer, and he was twice asked by different sets of journalists about this, and twice, to most neutral observers, he failed to categorically rule out. He gave that you never know what happens.
You never know in football, yeah.
I mean, even the sort of commitment statement is seen as disingenuous. But
I mean, I can understand why. I mean, it's really hard for a player now to come out and say definitely this is happening, because they don't know, and they don't really want to have it a quote that they come to be beaten with later on in time. So I can kind of understand that a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's all kinds of translations going on. We don't know the exact nuance and tone of it, so yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see on this one, as there's no news been reported yet. But if you're watching, Sadio, we do love you, really.
Oh, yeah.
Sign the damn thing. Sign it. Now, it's about that time where we like to cut across to our good friend John Gibbons with some important information for you all.
Tokyo Time is sponsoring Talking Reds for Wednesdays for the foreseeable future, which were made up about. They're a Liverpool company. They're trying to do things differently. They're trying to do things better, a bit like the Anfield wrap. And so they've set up only recently, but already got a lot of traction for kind of what they want to do. They helped us out in America. They gave us hats to wear over there, and very much needed. They were in that bacon sun next to the pitch watching the Liverpool boys train. So yeah, since then they've come in. They've asked us about doing something a little bit more formal. So that's what we're going to do. So they're going to be sponsoring Wednesdays on the Talking Reds for the foreseeable future. If you're into your baseball caps, you're into your street style, or you know anyone else who is, or you're looking for presents to buy for people, do check out their website. It's tokyotime.co.uk, or follow them on Instagram. They've got loads of styles, something for everyone, and the fit is really, really good. So yeah, cheers to the boys for supporting us. They're supporting us, so do try and support them. tokyotime.co.uk.
Thanks as always there to John. Now, the last part, we wanted to mention something. We did a couple of weeks ago, we did a thing where we debunked some bollocks. So I wanted to do that again because there's some more bollocks been out. And
the bollocks debunking section.
Yes, indeed. We might have to get some kind of regular titles.
We accept no bollocks.
We don't. Well, oh no, we accept 2, but that's it.
Hey.
So anyway, the story, it's come out recently as reported by the Daily Express. So obviously there's a large pile of salt next to it on the table. But Neymar was asked while he was at a PokerStars event in Barcelona who he thinks will finish in the top 4 in the Premier League. And he said, in order, Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Tottenham. Now, obviously, this has been said and announced as a big snub to Liverpool ahead of our Champions League battle. And saying, oh, well, he wants people to come out and start bricking his bus. This is what he wants to say. And all that kind of stuff about it being pinned to dressing room walls and in WhatsApp groups or whatever it is that footballers do now.
Pinned to a WhatsApp group.
Well, yeah, exactly. Anyway. I would like to let everyone know, I did a little bit of research and it really took me about 5 seconds to work this out. This event happened 2 weeks before the Champions League draw. So it wasn't like he was trying to take a shot at us ahead of a game or anything like that. He was just asked his opinion. He was also asked his opinion in Barcelona, where he was at an event with lots of his former Barcelona teammates, a charity poker event. One of whom was there was his good friend Philip Coutinho. Now, I can see a reason why he would want to maybe stick up for Phil and say, oh, no, Liverpool aren't good anymore now that Phil doesn't play for them anymore.
Do you not think, though, that's a conspiracy theory too far for me, that one? Do you know what I've noticed, though? Because I've seen the papers do headlines on this. Every now and again, a top foreign footballer is asked, who do you think might win the famous Premier League this year? And they'll go, and they'll just think, the way, if I said to you, who do you think will compete with Real and Barca? And you'd go, or Seville, or...
The first 4 you think of.
The first 4 you think, and I think just at that moment, whether you want to read something that subconsciously Liverpool don't come into his mind, I think if you pin him down, goes, do you really thought this through, Neymar, that Tottenham are going to finish ahead of Liverpool and Chelsea, considering Chelsea didn't last season? Have you thought this through? Yeah. I think you go, no, I didn't think it through. I was just naming names and they were bothering me. And I had a really good hand at this poker event.
Yeah, exactly.
They were just bothering me.
At the end of the day, right, if Liverpool fans who turn up to the game against Paris Saint-Germain want to use it as fuel to make it a bigger atmosphere, go nuts. Seriously, go nuts. However, don't take it as some massive slight that we feel like we need to go out and avenge or anything like that, because it really wasn't. And like you say, Rob, we don't know how much Premier League he's watched based on the fact he had Man United second. I'm going to say probably not this much this season. So
because they're shit.
Yeah. So let's just, before we get too crazy about this, just be calm, keep it chilled, smile, and wait for September the 18th when he arrives. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Now, out here on the Anfield Wrap, we're always doing new things. We're always bringing you new things. And we've got some new shows that we're recording right here behind me. Now, Rob, seeing as you're recording 2 of these shows, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to do a little bit of a trailer for them.
Yeah, today I'm doing 2 shows, what we call What We Call History. Basically, these are series, box sets, if you will, where over several editions we discuss a Liverpool season of the past. Sometimes it's a great one, sometimes it's an indifferent one, sometimes it's a truly appalling one. This time we did a poll a few weeks ago about which season would you, the fans, the subscribers, and the Anfield Wrap listeners in general, want us to cover. And we're covering the 2001-2002 season, which is a fascinating one. It was the season after Liverpool won the treble, the season where Gerard Houllier becomes ill and Phil Thompson has to become the de facto manager for a period of the season, and Liverpool end up finishing second, getting over 80 points, getting to quarterfinals of the Champions League. The side was very, very strong. We challenged for the title for a good while. It's a really, really interesting season, and in doing the research for it, a lot's coming up that I had totally lost from my memory, but it's going to be a really good one.
That's the beauty of that show, though, isn't it? Because like we really often kind of forget bits when we're looking back on nostalgia, and like I say, a whole season or a whole era of the team can be distilled down to a couple of bullet points, when the reality of the things and the storylines that happen over the course of a season, it's always a massive roller coaster. And that one in particular is really pertinent for me because I remember the whole Gerard Houllier situation because Liverpool were playing Leeds at that point.
Yeah.
And my sister is a Leeds fan. So she was giving me nothing but abuse for about 7 days in the lead up to that game. And then that happened and it was just silence. Like neither of us really knew what to do. And it was, because I mean, the idea of the manager maybe dying at a football match, it's just mental.
It was absurd, wasn't it? I mean, absurd and troubling. And he'd become a real hero, I think, to Liverpool fans, rightly, on the back of that treble. But it's also it's a season which has even more subplots than that significant one. For example, Marcus Babbel develops an illness that which was to destroy his career. Robbie Fowler falls out with Phil Thompson. I totally forgot that, and that triggers a series of events which leads to him leaving for Leeds, and he would say prematurely. So it's a fascinating season, and it's available via our subscriber service, Tour Player, £5 a month.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, even just us talking about the show is good content, so imagine how good the show itself is going to be.
Yeah, you're right, man. Makes you think.
I mean, to be honest, anything's good in our hands. I feel like we're good custodians for this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you think that too. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. This is where we wrap it up quite smoothly. Robbo will be back tomorrow, I believe, and we'll see you next week.